Okay, so we start the email off with the greeting, and in this video I'll give you some strategies and some greetings that you can use to get a great start to your emails. So here are the common email greetings. Let's talk about them. The first one is the best. I use hi and the person's name probably about 80 or 90% of the time in my emails. It's friendly. It's not too formal. You can use it with clients, customers, coworkers, your boss. You can use it with anybody. You don't use it in a very formal email, like maybe if you're applying for a job or something, but you can use it all the time. And there's no reason to think too much about it. Just use that one. It's the best. It's really the friendliest. And that's what you're trying to do in emails is you're trying to be friendly. Hello, Anna is good too. I would probably use this the first time I wrote to a client or to a customer or supplier or somebody outside the company. It's just a little bit more friendly than hi. But there's lots of times I would use hi too because it is so friendly. But if I feel like I need to be a little more formal, I'll go with hello. Dear, I find is probably too formal for 99% of my emails. If I want to be formal, like if it's say applying for a job or something really formal, then I would just go with dear, full name. Notice the big difference here with the colon. We use that for really formal greetings. So that's always something to remember. Colon for really formal greetings. So this one, although I probably wouldn't use Miss, I would say something like Dear Janet Chambers. Don't normally recommend using Mrs. or Mr. or Miss. So for example, in a job application, I always recommend people say, Dear Tom Chambers or Dear Janet Smith. That's the best greeting for a very formal writing. Here's some group greetings. Hi, everyone. It's excellent. Again, back with the hi. It's friendly. It's a really good one to use. I use it probably every time I write to a group of people. Hello is when you don't know the person's name. This is a good one. Yeah, if you just, if you're writing like an info email, you're writing a company to get information and it's like info@companyname.com. That's where it's just like, hello. And then no greeting is good with coworkers, and we'll talk here in a minute a little bit more about when you don't use a greeting at all. So here are some that you don't want to use, and they're mainly just that they're older greetings that we use. You may have learned them in a business writing class, or you may have saw them online, but the truth is that these greetings or these openings are old-fashioned. They were good for when we were writing business letters and you're mailing them to people, but they're not good for email. To whom it may concern is very kind of cold. If you don't know the person's name, just say hello with a comma. It's a little bit friendlier than to whom it may concern. It's just too cold. It's not friendly enough. Dear sir, madam, we don't use, first of all, because we don't say madam and we don't say sir anymore. I don't call anybody sir at work. Definitely don't call anybody madam. That's an old-fashioned word. So don't write it in email. I never say it, so why would I write it? And again, like I was saying before, I don't normally recommend using Mr. or Ms. There are times in certain, relationships it might happen, but it's not common. We use first names, so there's no reason to be saying Mr. Stevens or Ms. Stevens. Again, it may happen, and you might want to, your office might be a little different, and you may find that situation, but for the most part, you shouldn't be using last names. It's just first name. So again, all three of these are just kind of older, they're for old kind of letter writing, and we don't do that anymore. This is email. So there are times when we don't use a greeting, and most common with our coworkers, and it's most common when you find your emails have turned into kind of like text messages and you not have a greeting and you don't have a closing. That's fine. It's really common. Often what you'll see is when you have an email chain. So when you get to the third or the fourth email, that's when people start dropping the greetings. A good way to do this is to kind of look and see, well, if the person's not using a greeting with me, then I can certainly drop it for them. And it's okay, it's not rude. It's often rude on the first email. I would never send a first email to a client with no greeting. But with your coworkers, when you get the back and forth in an email chain, it's pretty common to drop the greeting, and that's okay. All right, so here's some situations, a little bit of a quiz. Let's see, what kind of greeting would you use? So for your boss, what would you say? Think about that. For a hiring manager, so you're trying to get a job, you're writing a cover letter, or you're writing an email where you're attaching a cover letter and a resume. For your coworker, what kind of greeting are you going to use for your coworker? What kind of greeting are you going to use for your team? So that's a group of people. And what about writing to a client or a customer or a supplier or just anyone outside of the company? That's kind of similar there, that last one. All right, here are my suggestions. So for the boss, I would go with hi first name. That's, the best one. I would go for hi first name for a coworker. I would go for hi first name for a client. If for some reason we need a little bit more formal, we can say hello. I wouldn't use hello with a coworker. Hi is the best. Like I said, I use it 80–90% of the time for my emails, so you can use it too. Hiring manager, a little more tricky. Dear Mary Stevens. So here's the most formal type of email greeting you'll have. Dear, full name, and notice the colon, which actually I should have on the second one too. That's a mistake. So because it's a very formal greeting, I should have a colon. And if I don't know the person's name, a great tip is to use Dear Hiring Manager. A lot of people in a job application, when they don't know the person's name, they put to whom it may concern. And as I said previously, that's a little too cold. You want to use Dear Hiring Manager. And for your team, as I said before, hi everyone. You don't need to change these greetings. You don't need to be mixing it up and trying to do different things. There's no reason for that. Nobody's going to look at your emails and say, oh man, she always writes the same greeting. It's so boring. That's not going to happen. Just write the same greeting every time. It's the same as when you're on the telephone and you always say, may I speak with Mary? In an email, you always say, hi Mary. It's fine. You don't need to mix it up. Hi, first name. You could be using that 80–90% of the time. So that's the greeting. Not a lot here to share. Again, my favorite is hi in the first name. And the general rule is you want to be friendly, not formal. Probably the mistake, if you are making one, is you're too formal in your greetings and you're going to really struggle to build friendly relationships, whether it's a coworker, your boss, a client. You're not going to be able to build those friendly relationships you need to succeed in business if you're too formal. And a greeting is a quick way to be too formal, with, dear sir, madam. People will look at, oh, that's very formal, very kind of old fashioned. Go with something friendlier. That's why I recommended hi and the first name. So that's some tips for a greeting. Use that and you'll get a great start to your emails.